Hi, Bol. Aloha, namaste, and welcome. Sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties to upload new videos, so we're just gonna finally figured it out, and we're just gonna get right into the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. Thank you for coming tonight. Let me offer my respects to all of you, and just get right into it. So we are still continuing our story, the story of Lord Brahma stealing the calves and coward boys. And as you recall, Brahma, the creator of the universe, had actually come to see the mystical powers and supreme auspiciousness and opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, because he had observed what had happened with the Aghasura demon, and he wanted to see something even more wonderful. So he thought, okay, I'll steal the calves and the coward boys and see what happens. And went off to Brahmaloka, and while he was gone, Krishna realized that all the calves and the coward boys were gone, and decided, he knew right away that Lord Brahma was playing this trick, so he expanded himself with his multifarious energies. He's able to expand himself into all the coward boys, all the calves, and act out a loving relationship for a year as these coward boys and calves with the resonance of Vrindavan. And so we were getting to this point here. When Balaram saw this extraordinary exchange of affection between the cows and their calves, between the fathers and their children, when neither the calves nor the children needed so much care, he began to wonder why this extraordinary thing happened. So even Lord Balaram is the direct expansion, Shankar-san, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is considered also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but even he was not really aware of what was going on here. He began to wonder why this extraordinary thing happened. He was astonished to see all the residents of Vrindavan so affectionate for their own children, exactly as they had been for Krishna. Similarly, the cows had grown affectionate for the calves as much as for Krishna. Balaram therefore concluded that the extraordinary show of affection was something mystical, either performed by the demigods or by some powerful man. Otherwise, how could this wonderful change take place? He concluded that this mystical change must have been caused by Krishna, whom Balaram considered his worshipable personality of Godhead. He thought it was arranged by Krishna, and even I could not check its mystic power. Thus Balaram understood that all those boys and calves were only expansions of Krishna. Balaram inquired from Krishna about the actual situation. He said, "My dear Krishna, in the beginning I thought that all these cows, calves, and coward boys were either great sages and saintly persons or demigods. But at the present it appears that they are actually your expansions. They are all you. You yourself are playing as the calves and cows and boys. What is the mystery of this situation? Where have those other calves and cows and boys gone? And why are you expanding yourself as the cows, calves, and boys? Will you kindly tell me what is the cause?" At the request of Balaram, Krishna briefly explained the whole situation, how the calves and boys were stolen by Brahma, and how he was concealing the incident by expanding himself so people would not know that the original cows, calves, and boys were missing. So we made this point that Lord Krishna he says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will give you all protection from sinful reaction. Do not fear." Krishna isn't into having people fear unless they're demons. He doesn't want his devotees being afraid and being in any anxiety. So he created this situation so they would just go on about it. And then when Lord Brahma shows up again, you'll see what happens. While Krishna and Balaram were talking, Brahma returned after a moment's interval, according to the duration of his life. So this is a really important point, because we're going to get to this again here. But Lord Brahma lives a very, very long time. In fact, it's been calculated as, I believe, 311 trillion 40 million human years, which is just phenomenal amount of time. You can't even imagine 311. They talk about, the universe is 4 billion years old, but like 311 trillion years and 40 million years on top of that is the actual life of the position of Lord Brahma. So when Lord Brahma goes off somewhere back to Brahmaloka, a moment's time is much longer on a human's time. So it was just a moment, but yet it was a year on the planet in Vrindavan. We have information of Lord Brahma's duration of life from the Bhagavad Gita, 1,000 times the duration of the 4 ages. Those are the different yugas, right? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and of course Kali Yuga, which we're currently in. Similarly, or 4,300,000 times 1,000 comprise Brahma's 12 hours. That's just 12 hours, mind you. Similarly, 1 moment of Brahma is equal to 1 year of our solar calculation. After 1 moment of Brahma's calculation, Brahma came back to see the fun caused by his stealing the boys and calves. But he was also afraid that he was playing with fire. Maybe. Yeah. Krishna was his master, and he had played mischief for fun by taking away his calves and boys. He was really anxious, so he did not stay away very long. He came back after a moment of his calculation. He saw that all the boys, calves, and cows were playing with Krishna in the same way as when he had come upon them, although he was confident that he had taken them and made them lie down asleep under the spell of his mystic power. Brahma began to think, all the boys, calves, and cows were taken away by me, and I know that they are still sleeping. How is it that a similar batch of cows, boys, and calves are playing with Krishna? Is it that they are not influenced by my mystic power? Have they been playing continually for 1 year with Krishna? Brahma tried to understand who they were and how they were uninfluenced by his mystic power, but he could not ascertain it. And that's why it says even the demigods do not even see Krishna, a lot of times don't even know Krishna, but the devotees, they just love and have a relationship. But even Lord Brahma, who is the creator of this universe, with an incredibly powerful mind and brain, and powerful powers, lots of powers, beyond, way beyond any human capabilities, to be able to create a whole universe. Yet he couldn't figure it out. What's going on? He's bewildered. In other words, he is a powerful living entity, the most powerful living entity in the universe, but still he is a living entity, a Jivatma, in a position of very great power, and therefore he can also be influenced by them, and is influenced by the material energy. In other words, he himself came under the spell of his own mystic power. The influence of his mystic power appeared like snow in darkness, or the glowworm in daytime. During the night's darkness, the glowworm can show some glittering power, and the snow piled up on the top of the hill or on the ground can shine during the daytime, but at night the snow has no silver glitter, nor does the glowworm have any illuminating power during the daytime. Similarly, when the small mystic power exhibited by Brahma was before the mystic power of Krishna, it was just like snow or the glowworm. When a man of small mystic power wants to show potency in the presence of great mystic power, he diminishes his own influence. He does not increase it. Even a great personality like Brahma, when he wanted to show his mystic power before Krishna, became ludicrous. Brahma was thus confused about his own mystic power. Very wonderful. In order to convince Brahma that all those cows, calves, and boys were not the original ones, the cows, calves, and boys who were playing with Krishna transformed into Vishnu forms. Actually, the original ones were sleeping under the spell of Brahma's mystic powers, but the present ones, seen by Brahma, were all immediate expansions of Krishna, or Vishnu. Vishnu is the expansion of Krishna, so the Vishnu forms appeared before Brahma. So there's a lot of confusion, and sometimes people, even in Hindu thought, Hindu religion, I guess you could say, people say that Krishna is a demigod who Lord Vishnu is incarnated as a demigod as Lord Krishna. But actually, if you trace the Vedas back, and all the support of knowledge of the Vedas point to the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Vishnu, the Vishnu form, is an expansion from Krishna, not the other way around. Actually, the original ones who were sleeping under the spell, let's see here. Actually, the original ones who were sleeping under the spell of Brahma's mystic power, but the present ones seen by Brahma were all immediate expansions of Krishna or Vishnu. Vishnu is expansion of Krishna, so the Vishnu forms appeared before Brahma. All the Vishnu forms were of bluish color, dressed in yellow garments. All of them had 4 hands decorated with club, disc, lotus flower, and conch shell. On their heads were glittering golden jeweled helmets. They were bedecked with pearls and earrings and garlanded with beautiful flowers. On their chest was the mark of Srivatsha. It's a mark on the chest of Lord Vishnu. Their arms were all decorated with armlets and other jewelry. Their necks were smooth, just like the conch shell. Their legs were decorated with bells. Their waists decorated with golden bells, and their fingers decorated with jeweled rings. Brahma also saw that upon the whole body of Lord Vishnu, fresh tulasi buds were thrown. So the tulsi plant, of course, is in the family of the basil plant. It's a very auspicious plant in Vedic thought. So it's nice, and it's very auspicious to plant and take care of a tulsi plant. And so if you want to know about how to take care of a tulsi plant, if you're going to grow a tulsi plant, feel free to put a comment in the section there, or direct message me and ask me, and I can give you the information. There's a special way that you actually worship and take care of tulsi. It's not just a normal plant. Another significant feature of the Vishnu forms was that all of them were looking transcendently beautiful. Their smiling resembled the moonshine, and their glancing resembled the early rising of the sun. Just by their glancing, they appeared as the creators and maintainers of the modes of ignorance and passion. Vishnu represents the mode of goodness, Brahma represents the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva represents the mode of ignorance. Therefore, as maintainer of everything in the cosmic manifestation, Vishnu is also creator and maintainer of Brahma and Lord Shiva. After the manifestation of Lord Vishnu, Brahma saw that many other Brahmas and Shivas and demigods and even insignificant living entities down to the ants and very small straws, movable and immovable living entities were dancing surrounding Lord Vishnu. So, once again, as we said, Lord Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. Lord Vishnu is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. The positions of Brahma and Shiva are actually positions. There are positions, and other demigods, there are positions for every universe. And there's another story, actually, I don't know if it's in here, but there was a situation one time where Lord Brahma went to go see Lord Narayan, who is an expansion of Lord Vishnu. So there's expansions. He's also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He went to go see him, and he came to the door, and so he went to the Vaikuntha planets, which is in the spiritual world, and Lord Brahma told the doorman, I'm here to see Lord Narayan. And the doorman said, well, who are you? He said, well, I'm Lord Brahma. He said, oh, okay. And so he went to tell Lord Narayan. Narayan asked him which Lord Brahma is. So he went there, he said, which Lord Brahma are you? And so Lord Brahma was like, what? And so they let him in, but when he came in, Lord Narayana had called all the Lord Brahmas from all the universes to come, and they all came. And the one Lord Brahma with the 4 heads of this universe, the creator of our universe, which is smaller than many, many, many universes, saw all these Lord Brahmas, some with not just 4 heads, but 10 heads, or 1,000 heads, or 1,000,000 heads, or 10 million heads. And so those universes are much, much more complex. 4 heads of the Lord Brahma see in 12 dimensions, as is shown by the string theory in empirical science. But some of these universes have millions of dimensions. We can't even fathom our own universe, let alone what this is like. And this is all in the material world alone. So Lord Brahma realized that he was just a living entity in a position. So that's what it is. So there are Lord Shivas in other universes, not just this universe. There are Lord Brahmas, there are creator demigods in other universes. There are other Indras. So it's not just that there is one Indra, one Brahma, one Shiva, but there is one Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. There is one, only one. Their dancing was accompanied by various kinds of music, and all of them were worshipping Lord Vishnu. Brahma realized that all those Vishnu forms were complete, beginning from the anima perfection of becoming small like an atom up to becoming infinite like the cosmic manifestation. All the mystic powers of Brahma, Shiva, all the demigods, and all the 24 elements of cosmic manifestation were fully represented in the person of Vishnu. By the influence of Lord Vishnu, all subordinate mystic powers were engaged in his worship. He was being worshipped by time, space, cosmic manifestation, reformation, desire, activity, and the three qualities of material nature. Lord Vishnu, Brahma also realized, is the reservoir of all truth, knowledge, and bliss. He is the combination of three transcendental features, namely eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Satchidananda. And he is the object of worship by the followers of the Upanishads. Brahma realized that all the different forms of cows, boys, and calves transformed into Vishnu forms were not transformed by a mysticism of the type that a yogi or a demigod can display by specific powers invested in him. The cows, calves, and boys transformed into Vishnu murtis or Vishnu forms were not displays of Vishnu Maya or Vishnu energy, but were Vishnu himself. So this is a really important point, that actually if you break down all the Vedic thought, even though they're in so many sections, and there are sections of the Vedas and religious thought that have a certain type of consciousness, and that is why oftentimes people say, why is there contradictory things in religion? Well, it's because religion is in different states of modes, and also at certain levels of consciousness. Some people are in very low consciousness, need a certain kind of thing. They cannot understand the absolute truth as it's taught in Bhakti Yoga. They have to be given something, for example, like the Hebrews in the Old Testament had lived 400 years without any religious rituals or practice, under the slavery of being under the Egyptians. So when they were out wandering in the desert or whatever, they were going for 40 years or whatever, wandering, finding their promised land, Krishna, or well, the Supreme Lord actually gave them rituals, very specific rituals and animal sacrifice and things that they had to do at a certain level of consciousness. You will also find those in the Vedas as well, because it's originally a Vedic thought. These are for people who are in lower consciousness, who want to have some kind of material sense enjoyment, or they want to eat meat, or they want to drink alcohol, but it helps them, regulate them to elevate themselves spiritually. But in this day and age, we don't even have anything like that, really. I mean, we have some religions, but a lot of people are, you see a growing trend of atheism, and there is no religious practice by people in general. They're told that they can just engage in any kind of hedonism whatsoever. So they're not actually making any spiritual progress whatsoever. Actually, they're descending into a hellish existence where their future is being planned. So let's see how much time we have. Wait, okay. Looks like my battery is about, oh yeah, I got a little bit more time here. Okay. Brahma realized, okay, the cows, calves, and boys transformed into Vishnu murtis or Vishnu forms were not displays of Vishnu Maya or Vishnu energy, but were Vishnu himself. The respective qualifications of Vishnu and Vishnu Maya are just like fire and heat. In the heat, there is the qualification of fire, namely warmth. And yet heat is not fire. The manifestation, the Vishnu forms of the boys, cows, and calves was not like the heat, but rather the fire. They were all actually Vishnu. Factually, the qualification of Vishnu is full truth, full knowledge, and full bliss. Satchidananda. Those were the words. Satchidananda. Another example can be given with material objects which are reflected in many, many forms. For example, the sun is reflected in many water pots, but the reflection of the sun in many pots are not actually the sun. There is no actual heat and light from the sun in the pot, although it appears as the sun. But the forms which Krishna assumed were each and every one full Vishnu. Satyam means truth. Gnanam, full knowledge, and Ananda, full bliss. Transcendental forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his persons are so great that the impersonal followers of the Upanishads cannot reach the platform of knowledge to understand them. Particularly, the transcendental forms of the Lord are beyond the reach of the impersonalists who can only understand through the studies of Upanishads that the absolute truth is not matter and that the absolute truth is not materially restricted by limited potency. Lord Brahma understood Krishna and his expansion into Vishnu forms and could understand that due to the expansion of energy of the Supreme Lord, everything movable and immovable within the cosmic manifestation is existing. Okay, we'll read one more paragraph. When Brahma was thus standing baffled in his limited power and consciousness of his limited activities within the 11 senses, he could at least realize that he was also a creation of the material energy, just like a puppet. As the puppet has no independent power to dance, but dances according to the direction of the puppet master, so the demigods and living entities are all subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the only master is Krishna, and all others are servants. The whole world is under the waves of the material spell, and beings are floating like straws in water. So their struggle for existence is continuing, but as soon as one becomes conscious that he is the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Maya, or illusory struggle for existence, is immediately stopped. So yeah, just like straw in water, it's a very nice example that we're just like, we come in and out like bubbles into new bodies, into another body, always trying to seek happiness and pleasure and try to be Lord and Master of this, and we're just baffled at every situation. Even if we're able to get, some happiness, a wife and a family and a job and a nice place to live, those things are yanked away from underneath us eventually, and when they still in themselves do not bring any satisfaction. But when we understand, Aham Brahmasmi, I am not my material body, I am not my material mind, I am a spiritual entity. That's the first step. Then it becomes, but I am a dominated spirit soul of the Supreme Soul, or of God. And then 3, my position, my essence, and my function. My function is to render loving service. That's a natural, eternal function that we have. Even while we're conditioned, we are still serving. And even if we're not willingly serving, trying to serve God, we still are serving God because everything belongs to God. So we just act like straw in the water. We just float along, and we just go in one body and out of the body, and for millions and millions of lives, until we are fortunate enough to have a realization that, why am I suffering? And then if we're very, very fortunate to come into contact of a pure lover, a pure devotee of Krishna, who can teach us, hey, this is the wrong way to be going in the cave. We got to go out of the cave. Shows us the way out, shows us by example, as he has learned from his spiritual master, and so on, how to get out of the material world, but also how to re-engage our eternal relationship with Krishna. So this is a very wonderful thing, and we're going to continue with the rest of this story and what Lord Brahma has praised to Krishna, is what's known as the famous Brahma Samhita. It's also been translated. It's sometimes taken out of the Christian book as a prayer of itself. It's very wonderful. So thank you very much. We are going to chant some more. Okay. Howdy Bowl, thank you very much for joining. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share with other people. Thank you. See you next time.